All right, in this video class, we're going to maximize some revenue. So we have some word problems that deal with these quadratics, and we're going to tell you a little bit about how to solve those and kind of what a lot of these are going to ask, kind of what price that we need to market something at in order to maximize our revenue here. So for this first one, it says, suppose the manufacturer of kitchen bar stools has found that when the unit price is P dollars, the revenue R in dollars is the quadratic R of P equals negative 2P squared plus 500P. So it's asking us here what unit price P maximizes revenue. And if I think about what's going on graphically, this is the graph of this would be a quadratic who's opened down. All right, and that means it's going to look like this. And at the top of that would be a vertex, and that would be the max point. And we know from our last section that we want to find the coordinates of a vertex. The x coordinate can be found by using the formula x equals negative b over 2 times a. All right, so in our problem, if we think that this is our a, our b, and then really we're kind of missing c here, we could say plus 0. If I plug all those numbers in, this is going to give me negative 500 over my 2a, 2 times negative 2, it's going to be a negative 4. And that comes out to be 125. So what is this telling me? This tells me that the unit price P, if I were to plug that in, instead of like saying f of x here, we have R of P. So kind of the P value is what our x would normally be if it was on a y or an xy coordinate plane. And so the x, or the P price, you might say, is going to be $125, and that's what's going to maximize our profits. Now, how do we find what that maximum profit is going to be? What is our maximum revenue here? Well, we can take our equation from earlier, our whole quadratic, and every time that I see a P, I'm going to replace that with 125. So let's try that here. Instead of R of P, I'm going to say R of 125. In fact, I'm going to leave spaces, and every time I see a space, I'll put that in using a different color. We have negative 2, leave a space, squared, plus 500, leave a space, and again in those spaces we're going to put 125. So R of 125 is negative 2 times 125 squared plus 500 times 125, and this will probably be a relatively large number since this company wants to have quite big profits. So I'm going to throw this into my calculator. Negative 2 times parentheses 125 parentheses squared plus 500 times parentheses 125, type it exactly like it looks, and this gives us, you can say, when we have that price of 125, it spits out an answer of $31,250. Right, this would be our max profit there. So if we sell those bar stools for $125 each, we can get a max profit of $31,250. Okay, let's try a couple more here. This one I think we're going to eventually use the graphic calculator to show you a little bit about what's going on. This says that suppose the manufacturer of a new laptop computer has found that when the unit price is in P dollars, the revenue R in dollars is R of P equals negative 2/3 P squared plus 2,000 P. All right, so same idea as before. We're going to use our equation x equals negative B over 2A. And if I put those in, we have my B here is 2,000, so negative 2,000 over 2 times A. This is 2 times negative 2/3. Now, if you're typing this in the calculator, be careful. I probably put the top and the bottom in additional parentheses there just so I don't mess anything up. So I'm going to have parentheses 2,000, negative 2,000, parentheses divided by, and then in parentheses 2 times negative 2/3, and close both those parentheses. And this gives me 1,500. So 1,500 is going to be the price that maximizes this revenue. So these laptops, if we sell them for $1,500, that should maximize our revenue. Okay, again, I can plug this back in. So I'm going to go negative 2/3, leave a space for my P, squared there, plus 2,000 P, and in those spaces we're going to put our $1,500, 1,500, again, throw that into your calculator. Let's go negative 2/3 parentheses 1,500 squared. I'll type this in my calculator exactly like it looks, plus 2,000 times 1,500. All right, and this gives me 1.5 million, really big number here, which means that this laptop company could have a max profit of $1.5 million, or $1,500,000. Okay, now one other thing here that I want to do for you, and that is I'm going to go over to my graphing calculator. I just have Desmos pulled up. Let's put this over on the side like this. And I'm going to type this in, which is R of P. We can type it exactly like the problem has here. Equals negative 2/3 E squared plus 2,000 P. And you'll notice a couple things. One, if I zoom way out here, this is finally the other side of that parabola. It opens way up, or the top of it, I should say, is way up here. I'm going to zoom out really far, and there you can see the top of it. Oh, zoomed in too much. It's a little bit tough to see. There we go. Yeah, it should be right there at 1.5 million. You can see our curves coming up. And so at the top of this, it should have a point for me. If I hover over this or click it, yeah, this is the point 1,500 and then 1.5 million, meaning that if I sell those laptops for $1,500, the profits, the max revenue will be 1.5 million. Now our last question down over here says, what does R of 0 represent? And if I scroll out all the way, so I get back to 0, I go way past 1 million. So it's a lot of scrolling. You probably don't want to do this on a handheld calculator. But at this point at 0 is what? It is 0, 0. And that's because at 0, have we sold any laptops yet? Well, no, we haven't. And so therefore our revenue is going to be 0. We haven't made any money off of those laptops. And so therefore, if I sell it for $0, I'm going to make $0. Okay, that's kind of what's going on. All right, let's look at one more. And since we have our graphing calculator pulled up, I'm going to type this one in. It says a wireless company found that the price P of their phones yields the revenue modeled by R of P equals negative 4P squared plus 9,000 P minus 900,000. All right, so some really big numbers here. Again, I'm going to type this in. We get R of P equal negative 4P squared plus 9,000 P minus 900,000. All right, once again, this is going to be way up high here. So if I go to the vertex, I'm going to show you can actually do this all graphically on a graphing calculator. I like to prefer Desmos. Here, I'm going to scroll way out. There, you can kind of see the top stops right there. If I zoom in, my quadratic is starting to curve back down. And if you click on this, it tells us that the top is going to be 1,125 and then 4,162,500. So what does that tell us? So this is a wireless company. If it sells their phones for $1,125, they can max their profits by getting $4.162 million. All right, so over here, if I were to write that in on ours, I would say, just graphically looking at this, that the P price that maximizes our revenue, I can say P is, oh, sign away, $1,125. $1,125 there. And then it says, what is their max profit? That'd be 4 million. That's our Y value, $4,162,500 if they sell their phones for $1,125. Okay, so pretty big margins there. That doesn't necessarily mean that the company has to choose the biggest, but this would be something that if you do get into marketing or something like that later in life, you might want to know kind of how to maximize your profits in those certain situations. Now, of course, you would have to create this model, and that's a whole nother animal. But for just coming up with those profits, what P is to maximize the revenue, and what the company's max profit is, you can just take and find, solve for P, and then figure out by plugging it back in to the original. All right. Hopefully this helps. Until next time, keep doing your math homework fast and accurately.